Welcome, Total Pole Nations, Lambos with the Sports, featuring the Big Brother, featuring Silent Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this in week 2, maybe week 1. The Giants are done. They have no hope. They are terrible. Danny Crimes. All right, I know Shannon Sharp said that earlier in today's show. We called him Danny Crimes because he's taking their money. The Giants got embarrassed at home. But did you know that the New York Giants are 1-12 on primetime television? 1-12. Whoever in the world made the NFL schedule, why do you put this team on national television? I mean, just why? Why you put them on that too? It's because they're in New York and all this stuff. Okay, I get that. I get that, but it's just embarrassing. Don't even put the Jets on there as well. All right, but that's a different story for later. The Giants gave up 11 sacks and a pick six, and you expect me to believe that Danny Dimes or Vanilla Ice and Daniel Jones is all that? No, the New York Giants organization. I blame the GM for offering that man $140 million. Do you understand that his contract is $92 million guaranteed? $92 million for what? What are we paying these quarterbacks for? Are we paying them to hopefully they get better? I mean, they don't have to prove nothing. Danny Dimes got paid earlier than Lamar Jackson. The Giants organization says, we're going to pay Daniel Jones, but we won't pay Saquon Barkley. That don't even make no sense. Saquon Barkley is your offense. And now look at it. You got Matt Breida. Do I believe in Matt Breida? Hell no. Hell no, I don't believe in that man. But it's just a crime of what the New York Giants are doing. And Brian Daboll is a very, very good coach. But they can't get out this contract, okay? They got about 2 more years off of Daniel Jones this season and next season. They can't really get out this contract. It's very, very tough, all right? Because once you release somebody that's on a big contract, you hit the salary cap and it hits you pretty hard. But it's just at the same time, just looking at it from an atmosphere, the Giants are done. The Giants have the third toughest schedule in the NFL going forward. And they're not beating the Cowboys. They're not beating the Eagles. The Giants are frauds. They need to go home. Daniel Jones does not need to be in the NFL any longer. What are your thoughts on this? And by the way, Seattle defense hasn't been like this since the Legion of Boom. So I'm very shocked that they had 11 sacks plus a pick six plus I think a fumble recovery for a touchdown as well.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I'm glad it's happening in my division at least. It's just like, as a football fan with no bias involved, it's just like ugly and sad to watch. Like easily the most overpaid quarterback in the league. And you've got Russell Wilson out there making boatloads of money to be mediocre. And you've got Kyler Murray that's also paid a bunch of money to not play at this point. Obviously he's hurt. I get that, but you know what I mean? Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, like last night's game, as basically all of the primetime, like Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night games have been so far, they've been a snooze fest, dude. Like it's not fun. Like at one point it was still like a 2-possession game. And so like you had to keep watching just in case the Giants pulled off what they did last week. But like, I don't know. I mean, it was a snooze fest, and all these games have been so far, so no surprise there. The Giants are awful. I mean, I've been with you the whole time. I agreed. I said that Washington was going to replace them as the wild card, or the second wild card, I guess, out of the East. I mean, rushing, I understand Saquon's out, but Breida, like you said, do we believe in him? Hell no. He's, 14 carries for 30 yards. And then in the receiving game, he was the leading receiver for the team with 5 catches and 48 yards. So that just tells you, yeah, how they're in shambles on offense. And obviously the defense isn't very good either. But, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, these guys had 2 or 3 catches. Jalen Hyatt only had 2 catches for 10 yards. And I don't know if you were watching the Manning cast last night or the regular one, but dude, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. how much I was agreeing with Peyton Manning as he was like yelling this out, basically, like, why is Jalen Hyatt not on the field? Why is literally like one of the fastest players? He had a bad 40. I get it, but you've seen him on a football field. You know how fast he is. He's already done it this year a couple times, getting over the top. So it like, why is he not getting more, not just like time on the field? Because he did run a good amount of routes. But Daniel Jones just ended up on his back most of the time, or throwing the ball away or something. So I don't understand why he doesn't have more just plays for him, like made to get him open, when really like the Darren Waller thing's not working. It hasn't worked all year, and it's still not working. And your other receivers are Wandale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, and Paris Campbell. Why would you not want to get one of the most explosive guys on your roster, and especially now with Saquon out? Why would you not want to plan on getting him open, letting him work in space? And all credit to the Seahawks offense and defense. But the Giants are a mess. And I mean, we've seen it now. They've lost. I don't know what their exact point differential is, but it's got to be like minus 70 or something at this point. I mean, like, it's bad. They're a bad football team.
I think the turnover margin, I think it was at least -8. And I think them getting outscored in the first quarter, or maybe in general, either the first quarter or the second half or whatnot, or the last 2-3 games, they got outscored at least 77-6. So it's not good. It's not good at all. And I know a reporter really, pissed Brian Daboll off, talking about, you gave up 40 points, and then you gave up 31, and then now you give up 24, and it's just the Giants should be 0-4 more for Arizona. They'd be 0-4 right now, because you were down 20-0 against the Arizona Cardinals team that beat the Dallas Cowboys. But Arizona had no business even beating the Dallas Cowboys. Just to be honest, they had no business beating them, and they got Josh Dobbs. I mean, Josh Dobbs is not a household name now. But the Giants, I'm so glad they suffering, because I know them Giants fans saying, "Oh, we got 2 on Tom Brady." Well, you ain't did nothing since Tom Brady. I mean, you ain't did nothing since you beat him in the Super Bowl. I mean, what happened to them Eli Manning did? Eli Manning was falling off the last 5-6 years. You only made the playoffs once with the head coach and Ben McAdoo, who was the offensive coordinator from Green Bay, was the quarterback's coach that helped Aaron Rodgers. That's the last time the Giants made the playoffs, was 2016. And then, of course, last year. That's the last time. 2 times you made the playoffs in 7 seasons. That's just awful. That's not something I would celebrate. I feel like y'all were frauds last year heading into the playoffs. I mean, it just happens that Kirk Cousins can't win a playoff game in Minnesota, despite Minnesota having all that talent. They can't win a playoff game. So whatever happens with the Giants, like I said, they play a very, very tough schedule. They won't win. I feel like the next 3 weeks the Giants go 1-6. I feel like at some point the Giants will make a quarterback change at some point. I feel like it, because I feel like Brian Daboll's job is on the line. And I hate to say it, and I hate to say it's too early, but as a head coach, as a responsibility, you can't have your $92 million guaranteed quarterback play like that. You just can't. I mean, it's just beyond awful. I mean, the fact that you paid him over Saquon Barkley just so disrespectful. It's just disrespectful. It's disrespectful to Saquon Barkley. I mean, it just is. What have you seen in the past 5 to 6 years that says Daniel Jones is worth $90 million? I understand he has 3 offensive coordinators, 3 different head coaches. I get that. But if you're going through that phase and going through changes and learning a new offense, you don't deserve no damn near $92 million. So are we paying him based on him getting better? Or are we just paying people out their ass like with Deshaun Watson? I mean, we're paying a man that hasn't played in 2 years, and then we're playing Daniel Jones based off last year. I'm like, last year you deserve a $92 million raise last year? Oh, I mean, come on now. I understand you only threw 5 interceptions, but you already thrown 6. You 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Come on now.
Yeah, and I think, like the New York media as a whole likes to inflate situations, positive and negative, for the Giants and Jets. So when he signs this contract, obviously it was highlighted, like they're paying him before Saquon. That tells you about like their priorities, how like what they see in him. And it also kind of, that's where the whole narrative came from like, who would you rather take as your quarterback, Dak or Daniel Jones? And there were people just talking out of their ass on TV and on Twitter and stuff, saying that Daniel
Tiki or
Jones.
Rondé Barber.
Yeah, yeah.
He said I take Daniel Jones any day. I said, what?
Yeah.
I said, excuse me.
And he said, I think most people will agree with me. It's like, dude, are you smoking something, bro? Like, what are
most people would agree with you?
What are you going on about? So
I'm a Cowboys hater, and I don't think Daniel Jones better than Dak Prescott.
Yeah, it just so happened that his best season, which would be like passing wise, one of Dak's worst seasons, regardless, like he was good in the turnover area, but he fumbled the ball a lot. He didn't throw for a lot of yards. He didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns. He did put 700 yards on the ground, so that's great. Dak hasn't done that. Dak won't do that. So I'm not going to say that, Dak is in all ways better than Daniel Jones. But in the ways that like are super important for the quarterback to be, like I can live with Dak only getting 15 yards a game on the ground. Like I don't care if that's what he does, because I know he's going to throw around, his career average is 260. He's got one of the best touchdown to interception ratios of all time. So like it just so happened that his best season coincided with Dak's like worst season. And so everyone just got all up in arms, and it's this big thing of, Danny over Dak. And so I think the timing really just worked out for people to get hyped up over there about that. But it's the same quarterback he's been since he came into the league and started games. Like, this is who he's been. He's been a turnover machine minus like the 1 year. So I don't know. I mean, I guess they're definitely surprised over there because he's, they paid him so much money. But I think the rest of the league, the rest of us are out here like, yeah, what are you surprised about? Like, this isn't new to us. Like, we knew this. You're the dumbasses that wanted to pay him $40 million a year, so.
Yeah, and you want to get him $92 million guaranteed off that $140 million contract. So, I mean, y'all looked at it and said, hey, Daniel Jones is more important than Saquon Barkley, which I understand quarterback and running back expert. Maybe you take the quarterback, but not in this situation. I would never, if I'm a GM of the Giants, I would never take Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. I would never do that. They have options. Go find quarterbacks that are somewhat better or worse than Daniel Jones, and you pay them cheaper money. Do that.
Right, and like, they don't have a lot of capital in players per se that I think that they would be okay with getting rid of to like make a trade. But if they wanted to, they could have paid Saquon, maybe moved Danny, and maybe this would have had to been like a last season thing. But you would have had to commit to it during last season. You're not going with Danny anymore. So if they could have, which obviously they can't anymore, no one's going to trade for Daniel Jones at this ridiculous price unless the Giants pay like 75% of that salary, which I doubt they would want to do either. But when they could have done it, I think what they should have done, which hindsight's always 20/20, but you move on from him, you trade him when he's still cheap, and you obviously are not going to have a good year without, a starting quarterback. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's good, but he's not going to get you, like, he's not going to go out there and win you games at this point in his career. So I feel like they could have just moved on, ridden with the backup, and gotten a decent draft pick, because it's not like they had studs everywhere on that team. Like, they were a bunch of underdogs that rallied and they came back and forced their way into the playoffs, but it's not like they were dogs out there all season. Like, they very well could have gotten a good draft pick if they planned on it, and they just didn't. And now they're stuck in hell because Saquon is on a 1-year deal. And the way that this year has been playing out, obviously he's been hurt, but you look at like how Danny's playing, there's no way he's like, yeah, let me re-sign with you guys again next year and go through this exact same thing. Like, no way. And if he got $11 million this year, He can come back and probably get around the same next year, assuming that, the market stays about where it is. So it's not like he couldn't go make an impact on a good team for about the same cost or the same salary next year. So they're screwed here.
And with the Giants, I said they had the third toughest schedule. The next 4 games they play is the Dolphins, which will be an L. The Bills, an L. The Commanders is an L. The Jets could be a toss-up, depending on how good Zach Wilson plays. And, of course, the Raiders, once Jimmy G comes back, the Cowboys are not winning. The Commanders again, and then the Patriots, they're not winning. Don't be surprised if those New York Giants go 1-8 in the next 5-6 weeks. Don't be surprised if they go 1-8. But this is it for this episode of Lambo's World of Sports. Next episode, we are going to recap college football, week 6. All right, 2 main games you want to watch for are Alabama and Texas A&M. I think it's a very, very good one to watch. Another one you want to target is the Red River Rivalry Showdown, Oklahoma versus Texas. That's always a great game to watch. Both of these teams are 5-0 heading into this rivalry, which that hasn't happened in a while. It's been a long time since they both came undefeated, but we'll see, and we'll tell you what our picks are between those. And then, of course, Virginia Tech coming off that great win against Pittsburgh. Can they shock Florida State? I mean, they're on the road now. Can they shock Florida State? I mean, you'll see our thoughts on that. But that was World of Sports. We'll catch you in the next 5 minutes for college.